Tech Tales number 30, take 2. Today is May 13th, 5:57 p.m. It's take 2 because after I finished the entire recording and I went back to play it back, I noticed my microphone was muted. So now when I press record to start again, I just realized that I didn't open the timesheet. So I'll take a moment to get back to that. I'm reading a time slip from the beginning of May. This is going to come down to here. Yes, creating a new forum. Yeah, all right. So this is the chiropractor's office on Monday, May 3rd, 1 hour, 11 minutes, 10:44 a.m. to 11:55 a.m. with Tracy. The software, the chiropractor software, creating a new form for a patient. Microsoft Word opens but does not populate the data on the form. There's an error message that says doc refresh red X. The following error occurred. There's a long number, class not registered. And what I did is I used the website, the support website for the software manufacturer, their chat function. I let them connect remotely to Tracy's computer after describing the problem to them, and they concluded the problem was that I had installed Microsoft 365 64-bit instead of 32-bit. Their software is not compatible with 64-bit. Well, Microsoft 365, when you install Office, it defaults to the 64-bit. Prior versions of Microsoft Office would default to the 32-bit. If you wanted the 64-bit, you had to jump through extra hoops to get it. And Microsoft was doing that with earlier versions of Office because the 64-bit wasn't working very well, wasn't playing nicely with others. So I'm sure I missed that somewhere in the fine print. Didn't look at the fine print because I've installed this software so many times and never had to look out for that because previously Microsoft Office was defaulting to 32-bit. So I uninstalled the 64-bit, rebooted the computer, then installed the 32-bit. We tested the form. Tracy tried it out, and it works fine. Next time slip is the pest control company I've talked about a few times. This was 58 minutes, also on Monday. 11:55 a.m. to 12:53 a.m. And wow, this started right when I finished the time slip with Tracy. So I got a phone call from B in the office. Phone and remote connections to fix scanning from Kyocera to B and A. Trying to not say names. I have the names written in the time slip so that they know who I'm talking about. And I'll take a moment here just to say thank you to the person who sent me a link to the Kyocera commercial on the web that actually identified that the correct pronunciation is Kyocera, as in a key to a house or a car. Anomalous symptoms encountered. Problem was resolved without a clear path to the resolution. Suspect the administrator interface test button on the Kyocera automatically reestablished communications with errant computers. So this is one of those occasions where I'm upfront with my client. If I make a mistake or go down a wrong path or whatever it might be, can't figure out something, I just am straight up honest with them, and I'm charging for my time as a technician to be able to figure my way around things. I don't hold myself responsible to know everything. This field is just way too broad. I'm very rarely doing the same things that I've done before. I'm never doing the same thing day after day after day. So what they pay for, what I charge them for, is my ability to find my way through an issue. So this, I'm referring to problem resolved without a clear path to the resolution, and I suspect what the solution was. So what I had done in this case, the way that this works with the Kyocera copy machine and some other copy machines. And I know some people will argue that this is not a secure way for a copy machine to send a scan to a computer. Lighten up. We don't have highly skilled hackers around these offices trying to get to a scanned image of a document. It's a pest control company. So the way that this works is the copy machine uses an SMB protocol, which is an insecure protocol. Microsoft wants it to go bye-bye. So sometimes a Windows update will disable that, and I go back in and re-enable it. And that is usually the solution to this problem. Not in this case. Both of these computers still had SMB active. Another possibility is the network share on their computers, which is just the scans folder on their computers. And that what I do to test for that is I'll use Windows key R from another computer, 2 backslashes, and then type the name of the computer that I'm trying to fix. Hit enter, and then it should give me a prompt to enter a username and password to connect to that computer, and I should be able to access the scans folder if the sharing is working right. For one of these computers it was working, the other computer was not working. I pursued further the computer that was not working, checking other issues. Both computers were set for the network type of private rather than public. That's what they should be. Sometimes Windows updates changes that back to public for some reason. Still don't know why that occurs, but oftentimes when somebody calls me that they can't scan, that's the problem, or the SMB is the problem. Another possibility is if a user changes their password, and if that's the account credentials that the copy machine uses, that could cause a problem. That was not happening in this case. I considered firewall options. So the way I do that is just turn the firewall off, see if it works. If so, then I'll drill deeper into that path. That was not the solution. There's also an issue on one of the computers in the office. It wasn't either of these computers, but one of the computers in the office, strangely, has to have Wi-Fi enabled and connected, as well as Ethernet, in order for scans to work. And I've been through firewall configurations on the Ethernet. I've been through sharing settings. I've been through enough attempts to fix that I got to a point where I just said, hey, let's just leave the Wi-Fi on. It's not hurting anything. It works. And we put a note on the front of the computer, on a piece of paper taped to the front of the computer. Wi-Fi must be enabled for scanning to work, because I know otherwise I would walk up to that computer and see it's connected to Ethernet and it has Wi-Fi on. This isn't right, and I would disable the Wi-Fi. And if I do that, then I'm going to break scanning for that computer again. So I looked at that for these other 2 computers, and that didn't help. So then at some point I went to the administrator interface, where I go to a computer, any computer at the office, and use a web browser, put in the IP address in the address bar. That connects me to the configuration interface for the Kyocera copy machine. Very similar for the other major copy machine company that I usually work with, Toshiba. And surprisingly, the errant computers, the ones that weren't working, would not connect to the administrator interface. So I used another computer. It did connect to the interface. And then I log in as administrator to that interface, and then go to a button they call registration. That's where you program the buttons that are on the copy machine to identify what's going to happen when they press those buttons. So I go into the buttons for one of those users, drill down into the area where the configuration happens, which involves the computer name, the share name on the computer, the username for authenticating on that computer, and the password that we're going to use. I think I covered all the items there. And then there's a test button. So on one of them, well, they both appeared to be configured correctly. And I clicked the test button, and it gave me a message saying test successful. When the test fails, it takes a long time for it to fail. When it succeeds, it's pretty quick to succeed. So that was strange. I don't know why it succeeded without apparently changing anything since the last attempt to scan from the Kyocera failed. So did the test button actually fix something about communication, somehow establish communications between it and the computer? It could be. I've never had to do that before. Although it is my routine when I configure that section to click on the test button on a brand new configuration. Is it possible that that is always needed or required, and that does somehow establish or reestablish communications? That's possible. Interesting. I didn't think of that until this take 2 when I'm reading through this time slip. So that's going to do it for this session, and both of those computers were fixed that way. Yeah, so I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.